Hey everybody, welcome to Lettermen Live. We are at Roosters on Olentangy River Road here in beautiful Columbus, Ohio, home of the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes, getting ready for the Fiesta Bowl against Clemson. We've got Anthony Schlegel attacking and dominating back in here with us.
That's what we do.
We've got Justin Zwick, the quarterback, with us again for his analysis. And you guys know Jeremy Birmingham needs no introduction.
Hello again.
Rocking that homage sweatshirt.
Berm.
What up?
We've got our Lettermen Row sweatshirts. Schleg's got his own T-shirt.
I like that, man. It looks nice. What is this, velvet? That's soft.
It's whatever
So
you want.
soft.
It's a little velour.
Yeah, it looks really good. That's a homage?
It is.
Custom made.
Dude, I like that.
It's got a.
That looks like a really good
you gotta know
workout
the right
hoodie.
people.
You got
I
to
think.
slide into the
Jeez.
DMs of the homage account.
He got really Schleg's. He got mad because
I got so
they
mad.
sent me one. I didn't ask for it.
Oh,
You didn't ask for it.
I didn't ask for it.
they just said they were so nice.
They just like, hey, Austin, you talk about power zips and you bought every single one that Homage has ever made. Here's your Lettermen Row one.
You didn't ask for it.
I-
You have literally.
Well, I didn't slide in there.
begged.
Whatever. Okay, this is Lettermen Live.
We're going to have to talk about this later.
This
All
isn't
right,
the
let's
Homage
focus.
show.
Let's focus
That
on
was
it.
2 weeks ago.
Homage, you make incredible clothing.
They
We
do.
love you.
And Roosters makes incredible food. It's a
No,
fun-
I've already been
They
eating
do.
them.
It's a fun, casual joint. We're going to have a fun,
Let's
casual
go.
conversation. I ordered a second mac and cheese bites so that Schleg's, now that he's back, since he missed a week, he has to eat both baskets to get through the show. Not that
Challenge
that's gonna be a
accepted, I
problem for
think.
him. All right, but a lot going on for the Buckeyes before they leave for the desert and get out of this snow. Guys, the Heisman was last weekend. We can get into that and the results of that, but I think everybody right now is mainly interested in the Jeff Hafley situation and where Ohio State goes from here. Berm, you and I have been working on this since Friday or even before last Monday with Hafley on the way out and what could be happening. Still seems like Kerry Coombs at the top of the list, and Ohio State will do whatever it can to get him.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt it's Kerry Coombs at the top of the list. He fits all the boxes that Ryan Day's looking to fill, and he's also a player or a player's coach. And for Ryan Day right now, so much of this is about salvaging this recruiting class. So far, so good. 4 of the 5 guys that were committed to Hafley in the defensive backfield have reaffirmed their intentions to sign on Wednesday. And it would just be a really big thing for Day to have this locked down so quickly. And to me, it's a guy that is a young head coach, and I want to see that he's got everything under control, and he's done that all year long. When something goes off, he's immediately got an answer, and that's sort of been his MO. And it seems like Kerry Coombs is that answer.
Yeah, Schleg's, I know you spent a lot of time around Kerry.
Yeah, man, that's my
And
guy.
I remember covering him very well.
Doesn't
Just
wear
as-
jackets.
Like, nobody has more energy. Like, you two are the most energetic and aggressive people
I
I've
love
ever
him.
met. Like,
Yeah.
Who wins that battle, you or Kerry?
I don't know. I just think we feed off each other, and then all of a sudden the juice is just at another level. It's like it's like it's just going crazy, and that's what you want. Like that's why Coach Meyer loved Kerry Coombs. He's an energy giver, man. He's driving the energy bus, right? So, kind of to expound on what Berm just said, why he is somebody that you want here. If you think about the process, right? You got a guy, high school state champion coach here in the great state of Ohio. Hey, now I can come back, right? So he had a relationship with Mike Vrabel. He does a great job. Look at all the NFL talent that he's put through DBU while he was here at Ohio State. Goes to the NFL. They're playing really good, right? His guys love him at that level. His wife is a school teacher, right? Like a principal in the state of Ohio. I can come back now as a co-defensive coordinator. And the one thing that the game does at the next level is you really have to adjust, which is why everybody liked Jeff Hafley so much, right? They had great in-game adjustments. You saw it in the Big Ten championship game. You're down 14. Boom, guess how many they got the second half? This many. 0.
Yeah.
Right? So you want a little bit of that experience. He's seen that game to potentially come back, maybe double his salary or a little less, be the coach. Because here's the thing, though. I think deep down in his heart of hearts, Kerry Coombs wants to be a head football coach in the United States of America at a Power 5. I mean, that's the kind of guy he is, right? Just like Urban Meyer, like why everybody is thinking about his name at these other jobs. Like these guys are just competitors, and they want to go test what they can do. Say, hey, I want a state championship. Boom, I come back to Ohio State. I'm a co-defensive coordinator, may potentially win another national championship while I'm coaching at Ohio State. Boom, where can I go next to go take everything I've learned to go do that, but me running the bus, driving the bus, right? Not somebody else. So I think you put all those things together. He's a phenomenal recruiter. He is an unbelievable person, husband, father, grandfather. He's all those things, and it really resonates with all the guys.
So Schlegel likes him.
I don't know. I don't know, Justin.
Well,
what do you think?
Well, my
sold
big
on Kerry
question
Coombs?
is this, and I wasn't around him like Schlegel was, this and that and the other. When he first came to Ohio State, it looked to me as if, all right, we wanted to get somebody who was from the Cincinnati area to try and keep all those kids from going to Notre Dame.
Right.
They got all those Catholic schools down there.
Did that.
Yeah, did that. Then he came and it was like, all right, he seems like a guy who just has tons of energy and, is crazy all the time and doesn't wear jackets. And can he coach? Well, then he starts putting guys into the league, and it's just like, boom, we're DBU now. My question is he a defense coordinator? Or is he just that guy? Because down in Tennessee, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but is he the secondary DB coach?
No, he's just the cornerbacks coach.
Cornerback coach. So he's still just that guy who has the high energy. His guys love him. Mm-hmm. They want to go out and play for him. Transitioning into doing that and having a co-defense coordinator spot on your resume, I mean, is he ready for that?
Well, that's the beauty of what Ryan Day has set up, and he talked about it in his Monday press conference. The way that his coaching staff is set with Greg Madison, with Al Washington, with Larry Johnson, Hafley, Matt Barnes, all these guys are kind of working in tandem already. Yep. So it's not a situation where you have a guy who has to come in and it's not
putting everything on his shoulders.
Kerry Coombs implementing his defense. Mm-hmm. This is the defense they're running. He knows that Kerry Coombs is a guy that can fit into that system. And then you let him sort of, cut his teeth as a defense coordinator working alongside a guy like Greg Madison or somebody
who's done it for a long time and who has a lot of experience. Yeah.
To me, the question is, does he want to come back and coach in college football? Yeah. Because that's the biggest question.
That goes to what both Schlegel and Justin are talking about right here, is that Ohio State wants him. Like, they're going to do whatever they can at this point to get him back. Is Kerry Coombs ready? Well, if he wants to take the next step in his career, which is what he did a couple of years ago, he wanted to make that leap and try something new at the NFL level. Well, if he wants to be a head coach, being the cornerbacks coach for the Titans isn't going to do it.
It's not going to do it.
But then you have to decide,
what's your family life like?
Where do I want to live?
And he's also older, right? So if you think about this, it's all these things. So you guys have all made great points. I hope everybody's listening or like taking notes on what we're talking about here. But then it's also a quality of life. Like, the benefit of the NFL versus the college game is that you're after the end of the season, like, you're off. Now, you go recruit guys, you're watching film and scouting position, but you're not on the road recruiting. Like, there's actually a set schedule. Like, you kind of know, hey, listen, during the season, I'm in the office, right?
Yeah. When you have one weekend where you have to go on the road kind of recruiting.
Right.
You
got a bye week. Like, you kind of understand and can plan your life.
Whose side do you want, Slade?
Well, somebody said that to me earlier today about Kerry. Is like, well, the NFL is much better quality of life because of the offseason. Kerry Coombs does not have an offseason. Like, what's he gonna do? Sit at home on the couch?
Yeah,
and
he's got too much.
Well, no. Here's the deal. No, he got grand. I mean, at the end of the day, you have grandkids. It's just it's kind of everything that we think about with Coach Meyer potentially going to the NFL, right? Again, quality of life. Like, he still has a medical condition, right? So, how does that fit in? Well, now I got grandkids. As a matter of fact, guess what? They're in Colorado. So, and I love them, right? And my wife loves them, and I want to be with them. So, again, how do you rationalize all these things when you go looking to take on these job opportunities? It's the same thing when you're like, hey, guess what, guys? I got a potential of getting a job in Chicago, and I want to move our entire family there, right, and do those things versus, hey, I really like our quality of life here in Columbus, Ohio. So they're weighing all these things. I think that he just makes a lot of sense because of, and it's all predicated upon what does he want to do and what are his goals for his coaching career, because Ohio State is a launching point. We saw with Jeff, and I'm gone, and now I'm a head football coach at Boston College, which that fit in with Martin being an associate athletic director, because now Gene's putting guys out there all over the place. Right. You got Pat Chun. Well, yeah, he has Pitt, he has Washington State, he now has Boston College. Like, they're all over the place, and guess who they're looking for? Buckeyes. They're all over their staffs.
Yeah. Justin, you had something on your mind there.
I was just thinking, how old is Kerry Coombs?
I think he's 58,
58, so relatively.
That's young, man.
Yeah, relatively
58's
young.
like the new, 45.
But, I mean, you don't have grandkids yet. I know you're a little bit older. So
his hair's not white. It's just
saying, when you have those grandkids.
Electricity.
Yeah, salt and pepper.
When you have those grandkids, is he going to say to his wife, hey, listen, I'm about to go take this job where we're not going to be able to see those kids at all, except for a week or two during the summer or this or that, type thing. Is she gotten used to? I mean, happy wife, happy life, right? I mean, I live by that. Is his wife used to the NFL structure? Is she thinking, man, this is kind of nice having you home at night? Or not that he's home a ton, but, in the off season, maybe he's home a lot more than he would be in college.
But
there's a lot of things. I think Ohio State's going to have to throw something pretty enticing at him to say, hey, listen, why don't you come back here to, and get back into this whole year-round football deal.
I think that's one of the things about Ryan Day that probably interests him the most. Is Ryan with a bunch of young kids, like, he has been very, very adamant that he wants his coaches to find a balance between real life and football life. And you've seen that with Brian Hartline, with his young kids, with Ryan, with Mike Yursich, with Hafley. These guys all did a pretty good job this year of not killing. I mean, every Wednesday night.
Yeah, I saw Mark Pantoni this summer, and I said, Mark, how's everything going? And he's like, he told us not to call him for 2 weeks. Right. He's like, this is crazy.
Every Wednesday night,
I just have this time off.
Every Wednesday night, we're at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and we're working, and Ryan Day walks out that door at 7:15, 7:30, and goes home. And it's like you would have never seen Urban Meyer do that. And that's certainly not a knock on Ryan Day, but like.
Or Urban.
Everybody does things differently.
You all do things differently. You
process.
learn things differently. I think by him being in the NFL and understanding kind of like what you have to have, right? And then you can also see, man, am I really grinding my coaches too much? Because at the end of the day, again, it's leadership, right? So if you have employees that go home and they feel like, hey, I can still get that time with my family, though it's at 7:30 at night, maybe to 9:30, right? Just those 2 hours, man, is a big time deal, right? And then when you're on the road, being really strategic of like, hey, guys, here's your time off. So instead of me telling you, oh, you got 1 week before you go on vacation, you're like, hey, guess what? This is when our breaks are going to be, and now you got 2 weeks to go do whatever you want, and we can plan that out 6 weeks in advance so it doesn't cost you $10,000. Right? I mean, these are real problems when you're a coach. Let me just tell you guys, because you guys don't know. Because I know. Because I coached and I played. Right? So that's the thing. I think that with Kerry, knowing their situation, his kids are coaching.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? They were down at Cincinnati with the Bengals. So they're all in the profession.
So they understand it.
So, yeah, and his wife understands because she's been married to a coach in her entire life. So it's just based upon, do I want to come back to be a DC here to then go be a head coach? At the net, and if that's the case, guess what? He will be back.
If that's the case, Ryan Day might want to look into that 2-year rule because he certainly isn't going to want to go through this again next year.
There's so much that's been made of that. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's malarkey.
Why would you try to limit
your coaches from going on and doing better?
No, I want that.
I think that there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about it, and it's that you shouldn't be going after 2 years to take a lateral position or the same salary somewhere else or looking for a new title. Like, if you're going to be a head coach after 1 year, go do it. You don't want to stand in the way of elite professionals. You don't want it to be a place where, like, that's not going to be the best step. Ohio State's not a stepping stone for me if I have to stay 2 years and then maybe I miss the window. Jeff Hafley thought this was the best time for him to go. It's a job he wanted.
I
thought a week ago that he was going to pass and wait another year, but you don't want to be like, I don't know, I can't even take this interview because I'm here for 1 year.
Yeah.
Well, then that limits your pool of coaches you can hire. You want to have the best. If you get them through a year and win a national title and then Jeff Hafley leaves, fine. So be it. I don't have a problem with it.
The dirty secret is Ohio State doesn't have coaches who take lateral jobs. If an Ohio State coach if an Ohio State coach is taking a lateral job, it's because he's been asked to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
real. That's real talk. That's how it goes. And I'm going to give you another example, too. And I think you're going to start seeing guys stay longer. Because, again, he's young.
Right.
How old's Hafley?
40.
Okay, so younger.
He's a man.
Right?
He's a man.
If you look at like Venables from, and this goes back to quality of life and what do you want out? What is success for you as a coach? Right? Like that's the thing. Everybody out there thinks success is, hey, I'm gonna go be a head coach and win a national championship and do all these different things. Right? Again, success is different for everybody. You look at Venables, right? He was at Oklahoma, now he's at Clemson. He's been there. I love Dabo Swinney. I love his culture, and I think, matter of fact, Ryan Day's culture and the way he treats his coaches and that quality of life that they have over that building is very similar to Dabo Swinney. And so you got a guy there who's probably making $2.1 million a year. Why do I want to go make $4 million, have all that on my stuff when I love coaching my kids and being in South Carolina doing these things? Yep. I'd rather take 2.1. And guess what? We're going to have one of the best defenses in the country year in and year out. That's success for me. So it's different for everybody.
It's different for Larry Johnson. It's different.
Right. He's the associate. He could do all those things too. It's just everybody is different. And I'll tell you this will be a great evaluation of Ryan Day's leadership skills because nobody tells the leader what he's doing great, right? It's always him telling what everybody else is doing. Mm-hmm. Great way to evaluate him is how has he taught his coaches to teach his players? And do they execute? Well, 100% this year, that's a huge check plus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now when I put somebody else into that system, is it the same? Is it the same standard of excellence? Guess what? Somebody else leaves because Al Washington is leaving at some point. Right? Yeah. What's the other secondary coach? Matt Brown. Matt Barnes. He will probably leave. Brian Hartline will probably leave. Right? It's gonna happen.
Some of those guys, you got to understand. Some of these guys, you're talking about Al Washington. He's a Columbus guy. Brian Hartline, obviously an Ohio State guy. Like some of those guys, you wonder. Like Venables, for example, doesn't want to be a head coach.
Yeah.
Right. We don't know. Al Washington, you can kind of assume he wants to. He's moved 3 jobs in the last 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously interested in upward mobility. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Brian Hartline fits that or not. I mean, he probably wants to make a little bit more money and play coach at Ohio State where he's a legend all of a sudden. So I don't know. I get what you're saying. I mean, but success is different for everyone.
No, for sure.
What you're saying makes sense because great leaders create great leaders.
That's it.
And that's how businesses work. That's how good businesses run, is that one person retires and then the next guy is better.
Well, I mean, what happened with Brian Harline? He was offensive assistant, and then he moved up, right?
Right. Yeah.
But he was prepared for that, right? And that's the thing. Like, you're going to know your group of guys, and you're going to constantly be building them up for when that position is available. And they might be getting a job somewhere else, and now I want to call you back, and now you're even more experienced. Like, that's how leadership works, right? Like, that's how you're training your guys ready for those positions. And when that happens, our staff is always going to be at an elite level.
I think just to put a cap around.
Yeah, I'm
Kerry
afraid
Coombs
we could talk about the
But,
coaching
like,
stuff
to
all
me,
day.
I'm eating a deal.
When you're talking about a guy
Right here.
that was as
I'm done talking.
successful as Kerry Coombs was at mining Ohio, being an Ohio guy, creating NFL players, now he comes back and his resume is that much better because he now has coached NFL players and learned from Mike Vrabel, who's a great leader. I think that in so many ways he's the absolute perfect candidate for Ohio State, but none of it matters if he's not willing to leave.
I think that's the key point, that it's going to be up to Kerry Coombs to decide. Just like the voters decided last weekend that Joe Burrow was the runaway winner of the Heisman Trophy. Justin, you look at this guy, I mean, I'm sure that you've maybe remember some of the exploits or saw what Joe Burrow did in high school coming up and then going through Ohio State. Like, he's a fitting winner. I don't think anybody can take exception with that.
I've been rooting for Joe since he left.
Yeah.
I always wish that was something that I could have done back in the day. I mean, you just never know. It just wasn't around or as prevalent back then. But, watching him play, I mean, even last year, just checking in on him. And, I mean, what a year he's had. I mean, it's crazy and kind of upset. As an Ohio State guy, the season Justin Fields had, in any other year,
it's going to win.
Runs away with it.
Except for last year when Dwayne Haskins had the same year.
You know what? Sure, fair enough. Yeah, okay. Well, fair enough.
Think about the last 2 years of Ohio State quarterback numbers.
But Dwayne also had to play. He also had to play all of his games,
right.
So he had even better numbers. But Joe had a great year. That offense is amazing. He said in his speech, Coach O gave me the keys to this offense, and that's kind of what happened. He just kind of went out and watching those highlights, he's good, man, and it's so fun to see because when you don't play at a place like Ohio State, but what a bum, he's a bust. There's just a lot of really good players over at the Woody Hayes.
Hey, stop saying that, people.
They got to pick one to play.
At Schlegel Valley, if you don't like what I just said, stop saying that about people.
Well, that's just how the world goes nowadays.
And I thought it was.
I would knock your junk in the dirt, but you ain't gonna say it to my face. Stop talking about our players that way.
Nobody will say it to your face, Schlegel.
Yeah,
that's
social media. I'm gonna eat one of these right now.
But it's not even just random people on social media. There's professional journalists writing stories about how he was cast off by Ohio State and couldn't get it done. It couldn't be further from the truth. And I was really excited to catch up with him after 2 years. It's not like I'm going to fly down to Baton Rouge to do a Joe Burrow feature, but to see him then and ask about that play in August 2017 when he breaks his hand in training camp. He and Dwayne were neck and neck at that point. I think it sounds hyperbolic to say it. It changed the course of college football history.
Dude, you're hyperbolic. That's a big word. I like that.
I know. I'm
nice.
trying to bring the attack.
Just like
he's trying to dominate today.
Yeah, it's just like your haircut.
I know, thank you. I'm ready to go. But it's like, I mean, he didn't play. He was hurt for 6 weeks. Dwayne Haskins gets out there and he
blows
gets the
up.
job and comes off the bench in the rivalry game and wins. And suddenly that's it. Like Dwayne suddenly had more.
As soon as you play good in that Michigan game, and that's what happened to me in 04. Troy had a great Michigan game, and I'm sitting there thinking, well,
that's it.
I'm done. Because once you do that in this town,
that's it. That's real.
You forget about it. I mean,
there's nobody better to ask about going through that. And it's you would have had the opportunity to graduate and go do that.
And you know what? I had 1 hour my senior year, and I took yoga. So I could have graduated that spring, and I could have been gone all summer.
Squeezed in the yoga.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just nuts to think about, and. I was a bust. I was a bum because I didn't play behind a Heisman Trophy winner. Well, I could have went somewhere else and played and, maybe had a great year too. But,
here's the thing about Joe in that speech. Like, he had an unbelievable year, and he was 100% the favorite. Especially he was the favorite because Chase Young missed 2 games. Like, if he would have been able to go out there and get –
if he'd have had 4 or 5 more sacks in those 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a lot closer than what it was. But let's just say this, though. What really stood out to me as just looking on at what he said in his speech, he recognized Coach Day and Mickey Marotti. The toughness, and again, Joe's a tough kid. His dad's a football coach, right? He had a huge chip on his shoulder. He wasn't like this high-profile recruited kid.
Should have been.
He came, he should have been, right? It goes back to what are we looking for in guys, right? So then he comes to Ohio State, neck and neck. Things happen to people, all right? Boom, I transfer. You should transfer. But listen, he's a tough kid who chose not to go to Cincinnati, where I was like, dude, why don't you go to Cincinnati? You got Fickle there. You could start. You could blow up the AAC. Great. No, he takes the hardest road, right? I mean, I came to Ohio State. I couldn't win other play. I came to be with A.J. Hawk, Bobby Carpenter, and Mike D'Andrea, right? Joe, tough kid. Let's go to LSU. Let's go to the SEC. I'll prove it. Big freaking chip. He learned that in the weight room of Ohio State football. Coach Meyer, Ryan Day, guys being very, very transparent with him where he was in the depth chart. Because there are a lot of other people that want to string you on. But they thought about his success down the road. And guess what? We know you have talent. Go take it somewhere else because we know that you're a great player. He did that. He performed. And he's a Heisman Trophy winner. And he also said about – just think about what he does for Southeast Ohio and all the kids that are looking up to a Joe Burrows. He did everything – that he's done over the last 2 years, the 100% right way to do it. He didn't say anything negative on social media, never say anything bad about his teammates. A lot of his guys are still his closest friends that are in that building right there. And he's done everything like a pro, and that's why he'll be the overall number 1 pick.
Imagine if they get to play each other in New Orleans.
Let's go. I'm going.
We're going to take a quick break.
I'm going. Will, you're flying me down there in your private jet, Will.
Dive into that possibility when we come back here on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters.
Hey, college football fans, it's Zach Bourne here. You need to check out BetDSI.com. BetDSI is a great way to use your sports knowledge to make some extra cash. That's right. BetDSI is the top-rated online sportsbook. They've been paying winners for over 20 years. The reason they've been around that long is because they have got the fastest payouts in the industry. Plus, the user interface and mobile site is the best in the business. Play, win, and get paid. It's that simple. It doesn't matter if it's college football, the NFL, NBA, NHL, UFC, esports, reality TV, virtually anything. You can bet it. You can bet on it at BetDSI.com and get paid right now. There's no better way to add some excitement to games that you already are watching. Check out their live betting, where you can bet on games throughout the entire matchup, every play, and every minute until the end. BetDSI has a special deal for Lettermen Row fans. Use the promo code ROW100 to get a 100% bonus match. That's more than double. That's right, more than double your money to start winning today. Once again, go to BetDSI.com and use promo code ROW100 and get this limited 100% bonus offer to make some extra cash on the sports you know and love. BetDSI promo code ROW100. Now back to the show.
We're waiting on a refill for Anthony Schlegel, but the show must
Okay,
roll
well,
on.
come on.
we can't.
I only got 6 more of these
They're going to
things.
refill. I know.
I know. My mouth's getting a little
we'll
chalky because I pounded 2 baskets of these.
We'll get you taken care of. Don't worry. But there is still a football game coming up for these Buckeyes. We'll be heading down. Lettermen Row will be to Arizona on Sunday. The Buckeyes arrive. Got 7 days to get ready for the Fiesta Bowl in Clemson, and I really could not be more excited for this matchup. I think they're the 2 best teams in the country, most complete teams. I think the winner's going to win the national championship. Can somebody prove me wrong here?
That was bold, man.
Yeah, I mean,
you want to go first? Go ahead, hit him.
I don't disagree with him, to be honest with you.
You like that comment?
I think Clemson.
I totally agree.
I think Clemson is a team that's kind of just flown under the radar because early on they almost lost to UNC, and everybody said, Clemson, they're only up there because they won last year. Well, then they kind of got their act together, and they started blowing people out by 35 points a game, just like we did, in a lesser opponents, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. And they have a quarterback that is special. I mean, they kind of look like us, I think. They have a great quarterback, great running back, and they have a star on defense. A couple stars on defense. Some big wideouts.
Big wideouts.
It really is kind of like us. Their wideouts are bigger than ours, but we have those playmakers too. So it's going to be a great matchup. I was hoping we'd hang on to that number 1 just to not have to do this right away. But, hey, you know what? To be the best, you got to beat the best, right, Schlegs?
This is very similar. This is very similar to when we played Alabama, right? 14. I mean, they were the best. Like, everybody was like, man, Alabama, Ohio State. I remember walking out on the field like, no, we're going to win this game because I saw the athleticism of our guys versus how big and stiff Alabama was, and it showed up in the game. And then Oregon, obviously, they don't have any butts or anything.
Like a high school team.
Yeah, they look very soft. I mean, compared to us. Now, here's the deal. I know Clemson's head strength coach. I know their staff. I know a lot of their coaches. They are coached up very, very well. And the reason I think they should be number 3 is because of who they played. If you go look at Ohio State's schedule, you beat 3 top 10 teams in a row. That hasn't been done before, right? Am I correct on that?
That's
like
correct.
the first, right?
Yep.
You beaten 5, I guess, in the top 21 or whatever throughout the year. So if you're just looking at it, I understand that they're a national champion, but based on this season, they should have been 3rd. This is by far the best game. I would say that as a whole, you're absolutely correct. Just looking at the totality of it, I think they're all better than LSU because LSU's been up and down. Their defense kind of started clicking at the end. But, like, these two teams have been playing at a very, very high level all year. Yeah. So it's an exciting game. I think that are we away or are we home?
Because I think you get to be
we're the underdog. I know that.
They're wearing the red.
All right, so we're home. So we're home.
Yeah. They've got the gray on the sleeves this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, shut the front door.
Yeah.
What?
That's a win.
What are we doing? I just did a robot, so I'm so excited that we got gray on the red jersey, scarlet jersey.
They're
man.
coming back, baby. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, that being said, it's going to be a great game. But looking at that game, I think that we're going to be able to stop the run. It's going to come down to a healthy Ohio State secondary versus Trevor Lawrence and their wide receivers, period, dot. I mean, that's what – and we're going to have to affect him. Mm-hmm. Travis Etienne, he's got, obviously game-changing dynamic speed, but we've stopped guys like him before. And if you put it on Trevor Lawrence with RDBs, I think that's the matchup to watch. And then we got to be able to run the football.
Here's a question for you, though.
Yeah, hit me.
And I said, would you rather – you're a defensive guy.
I love it.
Guy. Would you rather have played somebody like Lawrence who's going to sit in the pocket and throw the ball, or someone like Jalen Hurts who is going to create more things with his feet and kind of have a different style of offense?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence
with
can run
the defense
too.
that we have.
You're still going to play him very similarly because Trevor Lawrence can still pick up a first down, right?
He may not have the called runs, but
yeah, he does.
Yeah, well, he still had 400-some yards rushing.
He's more dangerous to me because you're less likely to spy him.
So really worry about him?
So you're more likely to give up those 3rd and 9 runs to him than you are Jalen Hurts because you're expecting him to run.
Well, the only thing that's different is in those situations, it changes even your pass rush, right? So there always have to be somebody up front because you want to make them try to escape like toward the side, so it's not just a direct run. And then if you even do have like a spy, like spine's kind of overrated, the guy's playing back, but if you play a lot of zone, and let's say you're a hook curl and a hook curl guy, right, and cover 3, well, those 2 guys are sitting over here and they can both come versus just one guy having to make an open field tackle on a quarterback,
kind of spying without spying.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, like, to me, the Oklahoma obviously is the better game that you want simply because of the defense that they have, right?
Yeah.
So in this one, I think that for us, if we can establish the line of scrimmage like we have been doing, right, the difference between our offensive line and then the ones in the past is we have just mauled people in the second half. We have worn them down. That's going to be the key to us because that's when Justin Fields is at his best.
And there's a major difference between this year's Clemson front 4.
Yes,
and
they all went.
And
they
the
were
front
gone.
4 that Ohio State saw in 2016.
Yeah, those guys are on the league, right?
So to me, the matchup here is that the country's 2 most underrated running backs because J.K. Dobbins and Travis Etienne are fantastic. Etienne may have been the best running back in the country, and nobody talked about him because Clemson didn't play anybody. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about LSU defense, I want to go back to this.
Yeah.
It's easy for your defense to look good against Texas A&M and Georgia.
Absolutely.
So let's see how they look.
Versus a really
They
depleted.
did look very good against Ole Miss.
Right.
Which,
so let's see how they play against Oklahoma before I'm willing to say that their defense turned it around. But
No, they had 2 good games. That was what kind of shocked me when they said, well, we just think they were, it wasn't that anybody slipped. It was that they just were better. And I'm like, okay, so you got depleted Georgia. The defense has 2 consistent games.
And overrated Georgia.
It's because sometimes people want that to be true. Mm-hmm. Like Michigan's offense has got
you can wish in one hand and crap in another and see which one fills up faster.
Yeah,
I know that.
But I think
From experience.
Yeah.
I think
taking a lot of stuff to write down. Some good
Yeah,
notes from this
take
show.
these nuggets. You're welcome.
with Clemson, to me, that's the matchup is the Ohio State offensive line versus the Clemson
100%.
front 7. And keeping Isaiah Simmons from being the game changer that Chris Orr from Wisconsin, the way that he affected Ohio State in both games, not necessarily in stopping the run, but in being an extra and unplanned for pass rusher, because that's when Justin Fields gets in trouble, is not when there's a 4-man front or even when there's a designated blitz. But what Wisconsin did a ton of was blitz when it wasn't a blitz.
Well, they call it dead dogging.
Get set up and
they call it dead dogging, or they call it booking, right? Like, I'm gonna read this. So I mean, that could be I got a DN, I got a back over here, right? If that back steps up, hey, we're going to book it, right? So, boom, he'll cut inside, I'll come on the edge, and it's a dead dog. Or if I have a back that steps up and he's not going out for a pass, I'm blitzing.
Right, and Chris Orr did that both times. And I'm telling you, when I watched the Ohio State-Wisconsin game, rewatching it, the game changed when he went out of the game because they lost that playmaker in the middle of the field. And so those are the matchups that I think are the most important in that game. But I totally agree. That is by far the better of the two college football playoff games, and the winner of that game wins national championship.
I agree with you. I believe that. Because they're going to be battle-tested going into that moment. And the good thing for Ohio State, and I'll say this from the Big Ten championship game, we got punched in the mouth, kind of buckled, and we responded, just like we have all year, right? And then when you go into these, I mean, Clemson, they're battle-tested, man. They're 28. Is it 28?
28.
They're 28. No.
Yeah.
Like, what the Sam Dickens are we talking
it's
about?
It's not easy to do no matter what
you
conference
play.
you're in or who you're
As I
playing,
said on the first on Lettermen Live 2 weeks ago, or a practice report after the announcement was made, Ohio State's never gone to the desert and beat a team on a 30-game winning streak before. So, they certainly, but they did.
I'm like,
it took a little second.
I think I was there.
So, this team is not going to be scared. But as a player, like, knowing that Clemson hasn't really been tested this season, do you watch tape of them differently? Do you see, like, okay, these guys have done nothing against anybody that we can really count as somebody hitting them in the mouth? Like, does that change the way you approach them? Like, is it more aggressive in the beginning of the game to put them on the ropes or to see how they react, or do you just respect the players out there? And
I think Ryan Day has done that in the last few games where, Wisconsin, the best defense in the country. What did we do? We came out and smacked them right in the mouth.
Penn State.
Penn State.
They
Michigan.
haven't given up a 100-yard rusher. Well, guess what? You gave up 91 on the first drive.
Yeah, exactly. So I think to that
the
extent,
actual best running back in the country.
they haven't seen anybody do that.
Right.
So I think Ryan Day says, let's come out and see what they're made of right away, shove it down their throats, and just see. And then you kind of see how the game goes from there.
I'm just curious about that because it's like they're a good team, right? Like, that's impossible. Yeah. They have really good players, but they have not been punched in the face. And I know that they almost lost North Carolina, but that game was a
that's
snooze
early
fest.
year,
It was a snooze fest the whole way.
Well, I'm going to say this. This is how you watch the film. There's things that people do. Would they have stopped them if they had the players?
Yeah.
Was it they had the people there? They had the
position, they just
numbers
weren't
there.
good.
They just didn't execute. That's what they're going to – that's how they're watching this film, right? How are we going to – what is this guy really, really good at? If you listen to Bill Belichick, his whole thing is Sun Tzu, right, the art of war. Expose their weakness, attack their weaknesses, right? What are we really, really good at? And then we're going to find out what they're not, and we're going to attack that. So, hey, is it their tackle? Did they bring these kind of pressures? But he was good enough to escape because they didn't have anybody that set the edge. Like, if that's the case, like, where do the best blitzes come from? Well, how do they like to throw this guy? Do they like to have him out of a slot? Do they like to motion over to this? Right. So they're going to go look at their weaknesses and then what people have done against them and say, okay, was this a personnel issue? Was it an execution issue? Because I really like that. And how does it fit in with us? And the teams that were more successful, because, again, they probably had some games where they blew them out in the fourth quarter, right at the end of the third. Like, if they hung in there, how did they hang in there? What do they do to stop Etienne?
Yeah, how did they attack?
Right, so that's
to hang in
so
there.
that's what you're looking at, and you got all year to do it, and you got like 3 weeks to prepare for it. So that's also what's really exciting is you got two great coaching staffs that have a ton of time to prepare. Yeah. You got everybody coming back healthy. It's going to be a game.
Yeah, the health is
important. It should be more healthy. That's not 100%. But
we'll see if Justin Fields, like how close you get back. Ryan Day said
I'm 100%.
Schlegel is always
ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
But you got those one key guy on each side that you're trying to get healthy. Sean Wade, you mentioned that. Get him back out there for the secondary. They missed it. In those last couple of weeks, Akuda was out for a stretch. Damon Arnett was still dealing with the broken wrist and had a back flare up against Michigan, and then Sean Wade missed the Michigan game entirely. So they need to get those are three NFL cornerbacks.
Wisconsin had 7 completions to Cephas in the first half on 10 attempts, and they were all when Akuda was gone.
And then Fields with the knee. So go ahead, Berm. Sorry.
No, that was it. I was just saying, like, when you have a player missing that's that vital or isn't 100%, game plans change instantly.
Right.
And Wisconsin saw Akuda go out and like, okay, throw to
that guy.
Whoever replaces him, throw at him.
And Cam Brown struggled in that game because Cephas is like 6'4" and 215 pounds. But now you have all these Clemson
and they're all the exact same.
Yeah, you got 2 6'4" guys.
And the best quarterback, apologies Joe Burrow, the best quarterback in the country plays at Clemson. And if you watch this guy,
he's about to explode over here.
He's the best quarterback in the country. And
he's the best pro prospect.
He's the best pro prospect, and that's what I'm.
But that's kind of how you.
I don't even know what that means.
It's kind of how you have to measure it, right?
Yeah,
So
that's how I would.
we should talk more about that because pro prospect versus winning.
Well, they both. I mean, he hasn't lost.
No. I'm just talking about
But he hasn't lost in 2 years.
I understand. I understand. I got you. I just think Joe's a better. I think he's a better prospect. I just think from his environment, like what all the
Joe's also
intangibles-
23 years old. Lawrence is what, 19
right.
years old. So I mean, he's got a few years.
Yeah, so his ceiling might be higher. I'm just saying, like.
Well, that's
Russell,
when I say the best prospect, that's what I mean.
Okay,
So
let's
that's
go
why
look
I
at
want
this.
the Bengals to
I'm just
draft
going to
Chase
let this
Young.
happen.
Well, let's say, you know what? I'll go like this. Wilson.
Get him.
Garrett
Wilson. No, not
Garrett Wilson. Yes,
No, not
absolutely.
Garrett Wilson.
Russell
Wilson.
is
Great
your-
quarterback.
Like, would you say top 10 in the league?
Sure. of
Absolutely.
course.
Right? Third-round draft pick?
Would you say anomaly?
No, I just
For
think.
every Russell Wilson that came out of a system like that.
Think about it. North Carolina. Then he goes to Wisconsin.
Sure.
Then he's a third-round pick. The thing is about the league, it's all about the system and the success.
Sure.
Right? The problem with the Bengals that you
That's why I
got
don't want
is they're
Joe
just
Burrow.
bad.
That's why Joe Burrow can't go to Cincinnati.
No, Cincinnati just needs to revamp and get some coaches.
Get Chase Young
They just
first.
did that, didn't they?
Get Chase Young first, and then next year draft Trevor
Well,
Lawrence.
Zach Taylor.
Not sure how they
All
wound
good.
up with Zach Taylor in that
I don't know.
process, but
Yeah,
Either.
I don't know.
Good for him.
Okay, good luck.
Hey, I don't.
Who dey?
They're both good quarterbacks. I mean, I don't think he was
There's
trying
no
to take
doubt.
anything away
No,
from
no,
Joe.
no, I
but
know he's
Trevor
not.
Lawrence.
Yeah, he's good. He's a
I
freak.
mean, since his
Trevor
freshman year, you look
Tre-
and see
Trevor
him throw the
Lawrence, You
ball.
can put it any system in the
Yeah.
country, and he's going to be a star.
Well,
I don't know that that's the same for Joe Burrow.
and forget Burrow because he's not playing in the Fiesta Bowl. But just send this tape right over to Justin Fields right now, who's been measuring himself against Trevor Lawrence
His whole life.
since
Yeah, his whole life, yeah.
his
They
whole
grew
life
up
beating,
town apart, right?
Elite 11,
That's-
and
and it's not a knock on Justin Fields. It's just when you watch what Trevor
It
Lawrence
is,
does.
Berm.
It's not. When you watch what Trevor
Gonna
Lawrence,
get all kinds of hate mail now.
Trevor
it's coming
Lawrence,
in. The YouTube comments are filling up.
every single one
Yeah,
of us.
don't text me.
every single one of us who watched or played football games on PlayStation 4 or PS3, when you created a quarterback, you created a guy who looked like Justin Lawrence or Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor
Combined-
Lawrence.
I mean, you created that 6'5", 220
with
pound
long
guy.
blonde hair.
Yes,
You created that.
Sunshine, baby.
this portion of the show.
Remember the Titans, Sunshine.
This portion
That
of the
was-
show has been brought to you by Pantene. Listen, Justin Fields is great. Trevor Lawrence is great. Jalen Hurts is great. Joe Burrow's great. This is going to be a crazy good playoff.
It's going to
It
be
is.
awesome.
It is. It's going to be
Attack
a
and
lot of fun.
dominate. Go Bucks.
I guarantee-
OHIO.
I guarantee
Poof.
that Jalen Hurts has 2 costly turnovers in that game.
Are
He
there,
does. He
Are there
turns the ball.
non-costly turnovers in the playoff?
Maybe not.
No, well, I guess we'll see.
It all depends if they score or not, I guess, right?
I'm glad you're here. I stand corrected. All right, we're not. There's still 12 days to go, so we don't have to lock in any score predictions. Just
Oh,
give,
good.
give me one name who's going to be the X factor for the Buckeyes in the Fiesta Bowl.
J.K. Dobbins. I'm going first, so you can't use him. I think he's going to have another
Quick to the
big game.
punch,
I
right?
mean, he's going to be over 100 yards. I think they're going to rely on him to really set the tempo for that game and try and keep Clemson off the field and try and keep our offense on a little bit longer.
I hate you.
He knew it was coming.
I'm waiting now.
Burn.
Birmingham.
I have a feeling that Tyreek Smith is going to make a Steve Miller-esque play.
That's big.
Wow.
That's a bold prediction.
That is, boy.
That's a bold
Yeah.
prediction, Cotton.
Six.
I don't know if it's going to be a pick six or whatever, but I just feel like he's going to be a guy.
Dadgummit, you just said Steve Miller.
Yeah.
I coached him. He's a great dude. I should look him up. He was awesome. I love.
I just feel like there's that kind of play.
Something.
Somebody else has to step up outside of Chase Young. And Clemson has clearly watched Michigan and Wisconsin. They're going to do everything they can to keep him away from Trevor Lawrence. And that means somebody else has to make a play. So for me on defense, it's Tyreek Smith. And on offense, it's Garrett Wilson because nobody can cover him.
Nice. I asked for one name.
That
Burn.
tough Dookie.
You don't
You
get to
double.
cheat.
You get double D. He's
now-
just taking another name
Now
from Schlegel.
3 guys are off the board for Schlegel.
That's what you get for waiting.
Yeah. Gotta be quick on the trigger.
Go ahead.
I
say
think
it.
Jordan Fuller's going to have a really
Oh,
good game.
that's a good one.
Okay.
I thought you were going
That's
to say
good.
Baron. I was convinced you were going to say Baron Browning.
No, if I was going to name a linebacker that's been the most consistent, it would probably be Pete
Pete Warner, yep.
or Malik. Because I don't really think this is a Barron or a tough type game. It's really a Malik and a Pete type game. And, on the offensive side of the ball, I'm excited to watch our offensive line because the one thing about them is they have risen to every challenge that anybody has put on them. And the stats from JK, and I know I truly believe that's going to be the difference in this game, is how physically tough we are. I mean, again, when you play physically tough games all the time, which we have, against top 15 defenses, he's averaging 170 plus, right? I mean, that's crazy talk, right?
crazy.
And then you go against a team that hasn't played the defenses that we have on a week in and week out basis, how our guys can respond to that challenge. I'm excited to watch our offensive line versus their defense. So I'm giving it to my men up front and Coach
There you
Stud.
Oh, so I can't pick 2 guys, but he
I
can
pick 5.
Schlegel can do whatever he wants.
That's it.
He's
That's
standing
right.
next to me this
Boom.
week.
Yeah.
Look at
Popping
this.
pecs, man.
He's
Captain
standing over here.
Dominant.
He can do whatever
yeah,
he wants.
no doubt, man. So I said, matter of fact, and I gave you 3 names on defense. I just said 8 people.
This
I
guy,
just-
You know?
Give me the roster. I'm just going to name everybody.
this guy.
You know what?
Oh, I think this guy's
yeah,
good.
he's gonna have a good
I
one.
think Hamilton's going to have a good game, which I do.
I guess you need everyone if you're going to win a national
Yeah, you
championship.
do.
right? So
You do, man.
Especially
Thanks
the big uglies.
thanks for leaving me Chris Olave because he is going to score multiple
Dude, I love
touchdowns in this
Chris.
game.
Oh, man, he's
he is
good.
a difference maker. He's going. I mean, he's
So
already building
little,
this,
man. He's all.
this legacy of big game performances from him. That's going to continue. But we're going to find out next Saturday on the 28th, and can't wait for Lettermen Row to get down there. Appreciate Justin Zwick and Anthony Schlegel hanging out with us at Roosters for Lettermen Live. Berm's supposed to be here, so
Berm's the man.
You didn't
not a
save
big
me
deal.
any of the Mac bites.
got another one
Legs.
coming. We didn't
There's
even get him his
There's the midget
Tater
tater
tots.
skins.
Yeah, cheese
baked,
and
baked
potatoes.
skins. We got all the kind of potatoes you need out here. As a reminder,
I did it.
on the 28th, you can come watch. If you're not in Arizona like us, you can come to Roosters, any Roosters around Columbus, and they're going to have a huge watch party for you to come hang out,
Heck
get
yeah.
some delicious food, do that. So for Berm and these guys, I am Austin Ward. This has been Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. We will see you next week.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buck IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure, we got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.